Hello, everybody. Welcome back. This week we have Matthew, myself, Mar, and Cherie has joined us as well. Thank you both for being here.
Work.
Um, this week we are making space to discuss all things around love. It is both Valentine's Day week, and we also wanted to make space for next week, the 16th through 22nd, is the Aromantic and Ace Spectrum Awareness Week. So both of those, I think this is just we wanted to make a really intentional space to talk about what our culture, our discussions, our feeling around love is. Um, I think just to kind of frame our conversation, certainly this isn't meant to say Valentine's Day is either good or bad, or that the focus on love discussions this month. It's not to imply any feelings, but I do think there is a narrative out there around how we are supposed to experience or celebrate or feel romantic friendship or otherwise love this month. And I think that's what we really wanted to make space for. Um, I wanted to kind of start to ask us, as Valentine's Day starts to come up, how do talks around love, relationships, romance, anything like that, how do they show up in your social spheres, in your circles? Maybe Mar, start with you.
Yeah, I can kind of start off. Um, I know personally for me, it a lot of like my social circles when it does come to Valentine's Day. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Like some people don't really know how to gauge those conversations, especially with just like how people depict love and institute like relationships these days. Um, and it's always like in the sense of like maybe I don't want to say nothing because it might feel like I'm rubbing it in this person's face, or vice versa, or I don't really know how to like let
Mm.
myself get excited about holidays like this. Where I tell like my friends, I'm like, no, this is good. Like if you're in a relationship, like share with me. Like I want to hear like this is just as much part of your life as it is like mine because you're in my life. So definitely just like not clear ways of going about it, but it's like a little tiptoed around. I feel like person.
Yeah. Sheree, what about you? What do you think?
You know, it's interesting. I am significantly older than than Mar. Um, I think, in my circle, a lot of, my friends and community are partnered, married, have families, children. Um, and so, but kind of old enough, I think that Valentine's Day is just a thing you do. Right? Like there's no real discussion around what it means, sort of culturally. It's just I think a thing that people know that they have to plan for, right? Like, oh, I got to make plans for Valentine's Day, I have to pick up something, whatever. I will say though that my mom for my whole life has given me a Valentine's. And
Hmm.
so I got my Valentine's from her in the mail, which was very cute. It was sushi themed. I was just like, oh, I like, felt really special. Getting a Valentine from my mom, but I think there's just no real discussion on like what the holiday means beyond something I know I have to plan for, buy a gift for, or whatever.
Yeah, I I feel that. I really I think for me I felt lucky that Valentine's Day has always felt really wholesome, really cute. I think it's because I would really celebrate with friendships, family, whether I was dating or married now, but it always felt really lovely. And I just recognized, especially when I was younger, that did not seem to be the default feeling. Is there seems to be this implication of if it feels good outside of a relationship, then that's going to take practice. But if it does not feel good, that's kind of expected. It was very interesting to see, who it was kind of who it's been crafted for. Um, I think in our work in diversity and inclusion broadly, but I think especially in how we've kind of formed our work in both our program, but our office as a whole, I think we think a lot about what the messages of something are, and then who do we think has been left out of that? Um, I'm curious for both of you, when you think about Valentine's Day and the narrative around that, who do you feel like has been left out? Who are you kind of intentionally thinking about when you're celebrating Valentine's Day?
Go for it, Sherry. Sorry, laugh. Yeah.
I would say as someone who would certainly identifies on the aromantic spectrum, somewhere in there. My own personal bias is I've always felt left out, that community is sort of left out in conversations about love, especially Valentine's Day, where I feel like as much as I think it's changed in so many ways. Like I think about the way that elementary school kids, you take your Valentine's Day in, like give them to your classmates, right? There's no sense of like romantic love. It's just like, oh, I love my friends, my classmates, and I want to give them, a cute little card. But then something happens, along that journey where romantic love, specifically like monogamous, partnered, romantic love kind of takes precedence over everything else. I'm speaking like specifically in terms of Valentine's Day. That one could argue that we prioritize right romantic love above other kinds of love and other expressions of love, sort of broadly in our culture as well. So I think if you are a person that doesn't necessarily feel connected to that romanticism or to the idea of like for some folks being monogamous or being in a relationship or that kind of thing, I think it can feel a little I think you kind of feel left out in so many different ways, whether you're a person that's not partnered, whether you desire to be partnered or not, right? Even if you just happen to not be in a relationship at that time. I think there's a lot of pressure still to fit within that box again of like romantic partnered love. And if you exist anywhere outside of that, I think it can be a very othering experience.
Yeah. No. I've definitely taken all that in. I definitely like even piggybacking that on that like platonic love, I think also gets very backseat when it comes to just like Valentine's Day and stuff like that. Um, I just think, especially with people who might not follow like the traditional monogamous, heterosexual, whatever you want to call it, ways of like viewing love and like maybe even getting into a relationship or whatnot might not be like your top priority. You're still very other, you're seen as other, or like, what's wrong? Why don't you want to be in this relationship or do these things? Or, that just might not be a focus of yours. But I think, again, that's causes people to still leave you out of the whole conversation of like love and just Valentine's Day. Like, I think platonic love is like the holy grail. And I honestly will stand on that forever. Um, but it just does feel a little like isolating when it's just not viewed the same way.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
just gets very other.
Yeah. Mara, I wanted to ask you about that because I think the way that you express care and love for your peers and your friendships, I think it's just so beautiful. Um, I'm wondering if you feel like that is broadly, if that is valued as much, you feel is valued as much as romance love or relationship love or anything because I think we have talked a lot in our work about how the foundation of so much of what we do is each other. And I think expressing love and care, like like you said, is such a foundational piece to our work. But I'm wondering if you feel like that's valued or seen in in the same way.
I definitely came to like the conclusion that I care deeply, like
Mhm.
regardless of like whatever relationship it is in, like platonic, romantic, anything. I just very much care deeply, and I definitely think certain relationships that I've gauged, especially if they're not romantic, I feel like that care can be very looked at in the wrong way and seem as like I don't want to say like obsession, but it's just like I don't think it's across the board. Like people give different love to, romantic relationship, platonic, and like vice versa, which is understandable. But I think for the conclusion that I've come to and how much I care about just my peers, my community, and my own lived experiences, I just want to carry that out through in every relationship because I feel like that's the best way I can show love. I don't think my love has like what is it like safety handles or anything or like
Yeah.
holding on for something else.
No off ramp.
No, yeah, like
Right.
what I give. So I definitely had to just like learn how to gauge those situations and not really blame or yeah, like blame myself and just like, hey, maybe am I doing too much? Hey, is this am I the weird one for like caring this much, even if this is just my friend? Um, and so I definitely had to just learn like, hey, you have a big heart, you care, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just I have learned that maybe not everyone needs that much love from you or deserves that access to you, which I think is also a good limit without like a good limit to have so it doesn't drain you.
Yeah. I appreciate that. And I think it can take time to learn the diversity of the feelings around love. I think we've had a lot of discussions recently about grief, like collective grief in the world from either loved ones that we know or strangers that we feel connected to, that we see experiences or stories, but still feel the hurt from a lot of the things around the world over the past few years. I think tapping into that, that is a type of love. That is a type of what we feel connected with each other, anywhere from strangers to people that we love and date. Um, I think being able to feel the spectrum of that is really beautiful. I briefly wanted to jump in to invite you to fill out our listener survey. Our first year was made by and for students to address topics that students see as potential barriers, concerns, or intentional joyous moments to get from our first year to graduation. Go to bit.ly/OFY feedback. That's bit.ly/OFY FEED to fill out the survey. As a thank you, you will be entered into a raffle every semester. Thank you, and now back to the episode. Appreciate that. I think the last question for both of you that I wanted to ask, before I kind of have my um, wrap up to ask you is I'm curious what messages around love, Valentine's Day, anything like that, but like, did you receive growing up? I think we've started to kind of name that this is understanding our own approach to loving um each other, feeling the full spectrum of what the feeling of love brings. Like that takes work and that takes time. But I'm wondering how that felt when you were younger and what messages we've received kind of growing up throughout our lives.
Um, I'll be very transparent, especially just because like I definitely want the people who are listening just to understand that they aren't alone, but I never really got any conversations on love or like, I wasn't really told like affirmations or anything growing up. I don't think that was a bad thing. I just think that was also like the culture that I lived in. Um, and so I think it did just have give me a hard time just like surrounding love and what that looked like and like what that meant for me. Um, and now I'm more in a comfortable place. Definitely took a lot of like analyzing for myself and analyzing what my standards are. I think definitely know what your standards are and kind of like go from there. I think it's nothing wrong with just like needing to like build yourself up and what you're comfortable with and then maybe reach out to other people with that love, like truly love yourself and
Mm,
then move out.
Yeah.
mm,
I think I can resonate with a lot of that. I think kind of going back to the example of, children in elementary school that, bring little Valentines for their whole class. And even thinking about, I have a niece who's 5 and she's so free with her love. Like she loves to tell me like, I love you. I
mm,
a picture for you because I love you so much. Um, but then there's something that happens where we start building like a hierarchy of love, right? I think about the Greeks had what like 7 different words for like different kinds of love,
Yeah.
right? And we start building a hierarchy of like family love, romantic love, those kinds of things. And I think we get lots of message about how we're supposed to prioritize. Like your partner is first, maybe your family is second, your community is third, that kind of thing. Which I think doesn't necessarily reflect how people experience the world, certainly not how I experience the world. um, I don't like to sort of I don't like hierarchy in general, but I
I think
don't.
that like
It's weird how
yeah.
that
yeah.
happens. I remember it always surprises folks, but I love like Jane Austen, like romance novels,
Yes.
like Pride and Prejudice, the like 20-hour minis. Give me all of that. I just don't really want that for myself, right? So like growing up, I'd see, examples of like someone getting flowers, be like, oh, that's so cute, like, from their partner. And, that's so cute. But it honestly, getting flowers from like, I got flowers from one of my students for my birthday, and I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna cry. Like that to me is just as powerful, right?
Yeah.
And that's a different kind of love. And so I think a lot with the little nibblings in my life, right? The little children in my life, how I reinforce those messages of love to them, right? That you do not have to do anything to deserve love. You do not have to have a particular kind of relationship to deserve love. Like my love is not dependent on you behaving a certain way or holding a certain set of identities. I want to be like very, very clear about that with them. Yeah, so they're able to love as freely as possible.
See, and I definitely feel like I've stopped with that mindset of thinking like the hierarchy of love.
Mhm.
Because again, just how I was saying, like my love really has no bounds. Like I love you in any form.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I've just have had relationships where like it is that hierarchy. So
Right.
it does just feels a little like alienated. And that was what was throwing me into like those mental spirals. Like, is my love too intense? Is my love good? Is it like why does my love look like this? Or like why is it too much for you? Or like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and it definitely made like gauging love very complicated, especially just like not really growing up with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah.
I think there's also something, not to keep harping on this, but I think there's a whole other conversation to be had around, um, like in the LGBTQ community, the ways in which like different kind of love and attraction, even, all of those things um, are presented as well and prioritized, I guess is the best language I can think of as well, and how that can be very isolating, for some folks. If that's not what you fall into, if that's not what you desire. And I think it can be really hard to learn how to separate what you desire as a person, what you want as a person, and what you think you should or how you think you should be, right? Like the fact that you're questioning your love is just, it's a little, yeah, you shouldn't have to do
But
Yeah.
that's, yeah. Sorry, I don't want to like keep it like a lot.
Yeah.
But no, like I feel like that's honestly so real because I definitely had to like step away from certain relationships. 'Cause I'm like, no, like this, you're making me feel like my love needs to have limits, and that just doesn't feel like right in my heart.
it.
Especially just like when it does come to like me personally being a member of the LGBTQ community and just like my hetero friends. I like love them, but sometimes it can very feel like sideline, especially when they are in those like romantic relationships, as if they don't know how to like gauge both of them or how to give that love equally. And I don't know, I definitely feel like it does my, especially with just your LGBTQ friends, um, because we are navigating love in a different way, and I
Yes.
feel like other people, and it's just again that more alienating that other like, am I doing something wrong when that's not even like the case?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's so many follow-ups we could have. Um, I mean, I also think about how, our own identities evolve and shift and change throughout our own self-work and our own lives. I think we do here too say, as I change, will the love I receive alter, or will the love I receive shift, or will the love I receive or am able to give um depend on how I express myself. And not to imply a right or wrong with that, but just that's heavy. I think the freeness, the lightness, not the ease, but I think the lightness around how we should be able to express how and who we love, no matter the relationship we have with them, regardless of the depth, regardless of how we want to do. I think that's what we're striving to see for ourselves and our peers. And yeah, sometimes there's a lot of things we could talk about how sometimes that just does not feel like the case. Um, I wanted to kind of end by seeing if you had any messages of love that you wanted to express. And I'll kind of start. I mean, it's something we see a lot, but I like genuinely have love and appreciation for our students here, the community that we build, the approach that we have, even from small things as, we'll receive texts about our work and we'll end it with hearts. Um, I think there's some real depth in that. I really love the work that we're able to do together and the kind of lightness that we're able to kind of approach our work with. I really appreciate and love.
I definitely like, I don't know, I definitely try to gauge each and every person just like I truly see you. Like I think
Mhm.
that's one area where like my love really stemmed from. Like I see you beyond like what you might present yourself, like the deeper you, or like how other people perceive you. Um, and I just try to keep that in like everything that I do, especially just like the work that we do. I love my community. I love my peers. I love love. Contrary to popular belief, but I do. Yeah,
Same,
same.
same.
I love love too. I'm a Libra. Can't help it.
I think y'all shared some great things. I think one thing that's really resonating for me right now, especially with all of the things happening in the world, is that love for community.
Mm.
And community is so, I do think of community as like the antidote to a lot of the ills of the world. If we can do it right. And so I've been thinking a lot about how do I show that love for my community? Right? What is that? What does that look like? It's one thing to sort of say I have love for my community, whether that's, Chicago, my neighborhood, here at Columbia. But how am I showing that love, and like how is that love being shown to me, right? Because I do believe that love should be nourishing, for you, and for whoever or whatever you're expressing it to. So that's one thing that's resonating with me. It's just the importance of love for community, and how we show that love.
Yeah. Well, thank you both. Whether folks are enjoying Valentine's Day on a date night, a night out with friends, or a beautiful night in with yourself, we hope you have a beautiful, love-filled day. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Yeah.